Better.
Yeah. That's okay. We can always take a
He
break.
had somebody at the window when I came up who was
We can
having an
take a break.
issue.
We need him to be here anyway.
So,
Okay. All right. This is the Williamson County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's August the 30th at 1:15 p.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe,
Present.
Brent Gentry,
Present.
Tim Atkinson.
Present. Okay, at this time, I don't believe, do we have any old business to discuss? If not, moving on to new business, I think, let's go ahead and kind of rearrange it. I know the state and local fiscal recovery funds report is on here in the consulting services. We'll wait for action to get up here on that. But let's go ahead and, we have the First Amendment to the Host Community Agreement by and between Williamson County and Illinois and Walker's Bluff Casino Resort LLC. Tim, you have anything you want to say on that?
Okay, so Walker's Bluff and their post-community agreement were originally supposed to build a temporary facility, and they since have approached us and asked us if they could build a permanent facility. I think that me and my committee believe that would be the best thing for the county, best thing for Walker's Bluff. They seem to be very interested in doing that. So it's my recommendation that we give them that go-ahead so they can take that to Chicago, to the gaming board. And Cindy, is there anything else that?
No, that's all.
Okay, so that's covered by this amendment that's in front of us. I make a motion that we pass this amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jim Marlowe,
Yay.
Brent Gentry,
Yay.
Tim Atkinson.
Yay, congratulations, Cindy.
Thank you.
That's a big step.
I appreciate it.
And,
Thank you for coming today.
You're very welcome.
And we'll get that sent over to you, okay?
Okay, excellent.
Thank you for
so
coming.
much.
Hey, and I'm really excited. I really am excited.
Me too.
Okay.
I want dust.
Huh?
Dust.
Yeah, that's construction.
Roads, construction,
okay,
big machines.
at this time, I know, Ashley needs to be in this meeting. Ashley's not here right now. I think we just maybe pause, take a break. But unless, I'll tell you what, in the meantime, maybe he'll come up. There is one thing I need to, actually, there is a couple things we need to go ahead and do. Since, let's just go ahead with the agenda. I was gonna wait till he's here, but we can come back. We have the travel reimbursement, for 2 meetings that I went to. One was on 8/20/8/19 and one was on 8/23. The 8/19 was a meeting with the Illinois Association of County Board Members, and the 8/23 meeting was with the United Council Counties of Illinois, and they were both in Springfield. The total reimbursement for the 8/19 is 206.42. I guess we probably do these separately. So I need a motion for the reimbursement for the mileage.
I'll make a motion to accept this reimbursement. Which one did you do? 206.42 first?
Yeah, for the travel to
8/19/21
on
travel,
8/19, yes.
206.42. Make a motion for that.
Second?
Jim Marlowe,
Good.
Brent Gentry,
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah,
Okay, then the second one is for 8/23. I went to a meeting for UCCI. Need a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we accept the travel expenses from 8/23/21 for 207.42.
second. Okay, seconded.
Jim Marlowe,
Yeah,
Brent Gentry, Tim Atkinson.
okay. There's still one other thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into Ashley, and everybody, we all get wore out on this hard stuff. In reaching out to the broadband companies, Qtiva was one of them that I reached out to. They expressed an interest in putting a bid in for our internet and our phone systems. So they emailed me to get information about what we have. We have Clearwave right now, and in looking at our contract, and Drew, I think you were sent the contract to look at. I believe it's my impression that we had a 3-year contract that was signed, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe it expires November of this year. November the 11th, as a matter of fact. So, learning our lesson from Frontier, where we didn't sign a letter of change 60 days prior, that pushes 60 days prior, that is September the 11th, that we need to do something. Otherwise, it renews. Now, my question, because I can't make heads or tails, if it does renew, is that for a year, or is that for 3 years, or what? And
I believe it's a year.
a year, okay.
If you
So,
don't do anything.
I guess I'm going to let Futiva give them the opportunity. I mean, it's
Is this just an opportunity for them to bid for the
to
work?
bid. Yeah, we don't have to go with them,
Well,
but it
the
is.
the problem is, again, I like to have a home, but if you're gonna bid it, you have to bid it to everybody, right? You can't single out who gets to bid it.
Well, I didn't
Yeah,
request
yeah.
them to bid. They contacted me.
No, I'm saying you got to put it out.
You have to put it out for bid, and then
It's
anybody
a
who's willing to
process.
bid could.
The team is supposed to be excellent.
Okay. So then, all I'm saying is, if we're gonna do anything, we had the September 11th to do it. and it's pretty
That's the
quick.
problem.
Yeah, that's coming up. 2 weeks.
So,
So Brent, what you're saying is that we should advertise the bid then?
Well, I'm saying is when you do this, you advertise the bid, and then they bid it. Whoever, because everybody, there's a lot of people do this stuff, but Fativa is really supposed to be the bomb.
I've got food TV at home, I've got like.
I would give anything to have my home. But then again, if you say, well, it's got this bid, then, so-and-so.
Well, what about Protec?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so
I
here we go.
I never heard of them. What were they?
Oh,
okay.
that's what I got, Protect.
I think you get into a situation might be a little sticky.
And in order to do that, normally we put it out for at least, what, a week or 2 weeks?
That's.
So we're running
at a
fast.
time. We could do 5 days, can we set whatever?
I think I think we're at a point where we have to do this. We either rush this and do it 5 days, or we wait and plan on it for next year. At this time.
So we're getting months week.
I mean, I've not had a problem with Clearwave at all, and I'm just talking about the admin building here.
Is there a provision in the contract where you can say, hey, we're gonna put this out to bid and kind of delay it for a week or two, or?
I don't know.
I haven't seen this in a long time, but we're glad we had Clearwave. That's what we went through, believe me.
You could notify them that you don't intend to renew the contract.
But we might, because it may be the best.
Right, that doesn't mean that you can. It just means that instead of renewing this agreement, you could create a new one. If you tell them, look, we're not gonna renew, and then you open it up for bids, they could bid, they could bid just like anybody else.
Right.
And you could ultimately make the decision to go with them again,
Right.
though typically, I mean, the understanding is if you tell them you're not gonna renew, typically it means you're looking for somebody else or a cheaper price or a better service or whatever the case may be.
What about this?
From a legal standpoint, it doesn't matter. It sounds like it's a board decision on whether you want to do it now or whether you want to just force the renewal. If you tell them you don't want to renew, you don't have to make a decision on a new company before you decide not to renew, because it's not due. You wouldn't start until November 12th, I believe, right?
Right, that's when new service sounds like it would start.
Yeah.
So we have from now until then to find competitive numbers.
Right. The problem, it sounds like you're wanting to maybe do this bidding process before you have to give them an indication, thumbs up or thumbs down. That way, if you don't like the bids that come in, you just, stick with them.
Is there a possibility of someone contacting them, due to COVID, so we're looking at, the price that we're gonna bid it, give us a couple week extension, and then you can bid on it?
Sure, absolutely. Make sure that if you do that, and that happens all the time, but if they agree, make sure you get it down in writing. That they're willing to give you a 2-week extension on the notice or something.
And the whole thing came about because, due to ARPA, me reaching out on broadband, that's, how this all came about. And it's just the timing of it, and in looking at the contract.
Yeah.
I knew we
good
had,
stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. So,
and, I think Futiva could do a good job too, but I guess if we need to bid it out, so then, okay, so what happens, we bid it out, we run out of time, and we're at that point where, okay, it would automatically renew. Or do we send them a letter saying, if they're gonna bid too, and that time passes by, because that means then we'd have to meet to decide, what we're gonna go with.
Yeah.
What happens if that September 11th deadline?
If it comes and goes, then the contract renews. Now, what you could do is you could say, look, let's say it's September 15th, you call them and say, hey, look, we don't want to renew. Then the ball's in their court. They can say, well, the contract says you have to give us 60 days. You only gave us 57. They can either choose to let that go, or they can enforce the provisions of the contract and bind you for another year. Some companies will, some companies won't. Depends on the relationship you have with the company.
So all we need to do now, honestly then, is just to notify them by September 11th that we will be entertaining bids, I guess, and that, how would you phrase that? That we wish not to renew, but we'll be entertaining bids. So give them an opportunity to bid again
Sure. Look.
at the end of our contract, which would be.
The ball's in their court.
Yeah, give them a call, shoot them a letter. Maybe do both. Say, hey, look, a letter will follow up this conversation. But look, unfortunately, due to COVID and due to the situation, as our responsibility being stewards of the taxpayers' money, we need to. We're going to take bids on this and try to see if we can't get a better price for the taxpayers. We are going to open it up for bids, and y'all are welcome to bid if you'd like.
Okay.
Now that contract, it also has to do with the phone. It's all wrapped
Right.
up into one bill. So are
Right.
you doing the phones as well, or just the internet?
Well,
Are our
are
phones over the
you
internet?
sure they're
Our
not
bill
two
is all-
different contracts done at two different times,
It was all done at the same time,
and they all both expire at the same time?
I believe. So from what we have
I
found,
think that's right.
Okay, all right. So then, yeah, it's for the phones and the internet.
Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but Qtiva services the phones, the actual physical.
I
phone,
think out there oh, you mean like,
the hard phone, and then that phone service actually comes from the internet provider.
I don't think the TV's got anything.
we don't, you guys may have Utiva out there, but we have Clearwave here for phone and internet.
But the phone, I'm talking about the hard service phone. Does Qtiva not own those phones?
No, Frontier does.
Frontier, I mean,
Frontier, yeah.
Frontier, yes. So
They
I
do,
said
yeah. They
Frontier,
service
sorry.
it, yeah.
Frontier services the hardware,
Uh-huh,
then the internet and phone services provided by the same company.
yes.
So the phone, the hardware wouldn't change,
No.
just the
Mhm.
service.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
So that's,
If you get an extension from them, just say any 2-3 extension to the code, blah, 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 we're gonna bid it to get the best, price and service, quality of service. Because you never know, it's like you come in lowball, they're not worth a darn, so.
Right, I think we have to be discerning when we get those,
Yeah.
so reputation.
The guy that
quality
we-
of service will have.
The guy that we work with, Chris Snyder, he was real easy to work with. So, I mean, if
Yes.
you contact him, maybe he can,
See there.
I've been
Extend it.
emailing him,
oh, you
No.
have? Okay.
yeah. And
He
he
was
asked if
very-
there was any problem. I said, no, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, he was always really helpful.
Yeah, they're all a little edgy, you
Yeah.
know, when people start inquiring, stuff
They'll
like that.
always customer.
Yeah, so, and I just said, no, we haven't had any problems. But I
Actually,
just-
you got any problems? I mean, just curious, I'm just kind of going to, you get.
No, I mean, I've moved people all around my office, and Chris has always done a real good job about coming in and changing things out or moving things or reprogramming the phones to match the extensions and everything. I mean, I've never issues.
So- Will this have any effect on what CBS does for us?
No,
I think so.
no, I've already talked to Ryan.
I mean, Amanda's not here. Have you heard anything from Amanda? I'm just curious.
She's not ever complained about Clearwave. Anytime there's ever been an issue, anytime there's ever been an issue, I've contacted Chris right off the bat and he's had it fixed just
We
like
can
that.
still go back to Clearwave.
Yeah.
It's a choice. So I say then, and I know it's not on the agenda to vote or anything like that, but let's start looking and maybe we can draft a letter or something to,
Email,
yeah.
I think we got a meeting on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
if needed. Just email them and.
I'll email them and, we need to post it somewhere, I guess.
Pick one paper.
Put it in the paper.
One paper, yeah.
We've been putting our stuff in the store. Cheapest.
Is that what you do, Ashley, for the store?
Yeah, well, when I do our delinquents, actually, and do all three, but, I mean, I do some kind of bundle with them, so it goes with Star, the Independent,
Oh, okay.
whatever the Cargill one is.
Yeah, they have 3 of them.
Courier. All right, well, that's all I want to bring up, so, on that. Okay,
I guess another big one asking, what are we doing down the door with masks?
what do you guys want to do?
Well, I mean, we know what was said, I mean, and, you know,
I'll give you my personal opinion, okay, although, it may differ with what's going on, but I think that, my personal opinion, I'm gonna speak for myself, we got a lot of issues up where we're relying on government funding, state funding and stuff, and I don't wanna rock the boat. So I don't want anything to come back on us by a decision we made. I think we just need to bite the bullet and comply with whatever, comes down from above. That's just my opinion.
Well, that was my thought exactly also.
I mean, we're not on it, which is, you know,
You probably agree with that very thing too.
yeah, I think, you know, it is what it is, I mean, I don't.
Well, the governor has said it's a mask mandate itself, so I don't know that we need to do anything. It is what it is.
Well, guess what? Here, I'm wearing my face covering right now, if you want to call that. So there you go.
I'm happy. It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, it says face coverings were required to be worn.
But you're religiously wearing it at the beginning.
I was, but I'm also vaccinated, and it's not, you know, people get the shot and you wouldn't have this issue.
I'm not worried about liability issues, so.
We don't want to get sidetracked.
Okay.
Right, yeah, let's get back to track.
So are we gonna put a sign back on the
It's not on
door?
the agenda, is it?
I would say put a sign back on the door as the governor requested. And we'll just go with whatever the governor says, because like I said, we've got a lot of issues out there. We got a lot of things in limbo. Wouldn't want something like this to knock out funding for any sort of grant or anything like that. So,
Before we get started on the, I'd like to ask Travis, did you have something that you needed from us today? Okay, did you need to discuss ARPA? Okay, well,
Travis here, basically, if on the, what we voted on the letter.
Well, Travis is a busy guy.
Yeah, no,
He probably
you got
doesn't
something going
understand
on?
unless he's got something.
No, we're just gonna do it. That was the only reason I thought maybe since you were part of the team.
Oh, I appreciate
I
it.
invited
You send me a thank you note.
All right, see you guys.
Okay, buddy, take care. Thanks for coming in, Travis.
Yep, no problem, anytime.
Okay.
Okay. Well, moving on. All right. So, on the reporting, okay, what do we have lined up for the reports? I know you sent us a 25-page email.
Yep. So, in essence, I went through yesterday and filled out the reports. I've logged everybody in and shown everybody's roles and titles. So that's all done and completed. I went through each of the tabs that are provided within the Treasury portal. And I went ahead and copied and print screened all of these for you guys, because there's really no other way to submit this to you for review other than print the screens.
Print it and
So, I went through, verified the recipient profiles, added the contact list, went through the expenditure summary, which in essence are all zeros because we have not voted, you as a board have not voted on anything to obligate or expend at this time. Then there's another tab for revenue replacement, which at the moment I have left blank because we don't have that calculated. And then the final thing,
Can you do the calculation on that?
well, I mean, I've recommended that and I've asked, but I don't know if she's moved any further, which is again why I put on here about the consulting thing and if we need to, have her officially do this. I have sent emails to the Treasury Department in which I have asked them on well, 3 different occasions now, whether or not that part had to be completed by this interim report. I called again this morning and talked to a gentleman, and he told me that he didn't feel that that had to be done in this report, that it could be done in the October reports. But he was gonna send it up the flagpole to their Treasury Department and ask. I haven't got any response since that time, when I called it, whatever, 8:40 this morning. So, I mean, I'm under the impression that you don't have to have it filled out for this report. You should be able to present it and do it for the October 31 report. So that is my assumption, but you know what that does sometimes. So,
So what happens if we do the report? Obviously, we won't have it done by August 31st, but if we do it by October 31st, we turn it in, it gets kicked back.
well, then we have to submit something and say that our interpretation of the
Right.
language never officially said that this was due,
Right.
you know, on this report only. So you don't have to fill out the prior year's one until, I guess, the next quarter one. And so, I mean, I was thinking you should be able to do the October, is what my thought is. The other thing that I called and asked about, to get verification on, was this performance report. I emailed all of you guys at the table when I called this morning as well. From what the guide reads, the performance report is only required to be submitted and put on for display, you know, via the internet or via your website and all that, for counties and states and municipalities that are over 250,000. We are not over 250,000. We have 67,000, 255 people. So I verified again this is verbal, but we don't fall into that category. So if you look at the table itself, that line only corresponds with that 250. Everything else below that, which is the next grouping of us, which says that you're below 250 but have received over $5 million in funding or will receive, it doesn't, that performance report doesn't apply. So I asked them if it, for the other instances, if it did apply to that county, state, municipality, whatever, would it show up on the portal? And they said yes. It is not on the portal. I mean, you can click all the claim forms, compliance forms, whatever. The only thing that we are required to submit at this time is that interim report, and that's the only thing that shows up. And that's, like I said, I print screened all that stuff for you so you can see, because otherwise, the only other option, if you want to, would have to be for me to pull it up off the, off a computer
Put it on television.
and pull it up on the television for you to review line by line, which I guess we could do that, but at the same time, then, we'll need a laptop and everything to be able to do that. Otherwise, the option is to do the print screens.
Well, since everything's zero, I don't know that we need it this time. At some point
Well,
in the future.
but I mean, as we move on,
Yeah, at some point. in
like for the
future.
October, if there is monies that are to be expended for the October one, then yeah, I'll have to print out the information and show you the boxes, and I can highlight them or something to be able to show that, to you. But as of right now, these are all zeros, and this set is the only thing that's on those tabs and all that's required, at this time.
You want me to get Kim on the phone about the revenue loss?
Well, yeah, because I mean, you got on here, or you got to discuss it or something.
Let's deal with it.
You got on there, about consulting and
You want her to call
Services.
this? Or
Huh?
you want her to call in here?
whatever. I mean, as long as you can hear it. I mean, I did make the comment, honestly, if you're gonna have this moving forward, I really feel that people need to be present in the building.
Yeah.
Or on the screen where you can actually see and talk to people and follow.
Well, I guess as bad
Perhaps.
as enforceable as making you wear your mask.
Well, I'll say this.
You can request it, that's what I'm saying, just request it.
I will
I don't
say,
think
I will
Oh,
say,
I have.
So-
I will say this.
That's why I put it in my email, that I,
Yeah.
I felt that it
No,
would benefit everybody.
I agree
So-
because, when everybody's talking, you know who's talking, and sometimes you may not
It
know,
is.
somebody's got their hand up, or,
Yeah, literally, the other day, one of the meetings, just about sent me out of this chair. I mean, she needs to be here, she gets made a ton of money, paid a ton of money, and not to be here is shameful. It's not right. And if she can't be here, then we need to look somewhere else, because that's ridiculous, and talking over everybody was embarrassing. Now, I'm sorry.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
But that's the way it should be, and believe me, it'll be coming up, so.
Well, you want to tell her now?
Yeah, Kim actually brought up a point about, on the email, about everybody being in the same room talking, when we get this stuff. I mean, can you come into these meetings?
Did you hear the question?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I did, and I've generally been respecting the, I don't know if you want to call it constraint, or the decision to stay from, COVID and everything, and use whether it be the Zoom or the telephone, that kind of thing, has been my general practice. To do that, is there something extremely prohibitive about that you think? I don't know that I'm
Well, I think what we're,
doing.
like the other day, talking about, when it's on the phone and people are in here, the person on the phone can't hear other people speak, and they're running over each other, and people get frustrated, because it's, it's just part of being on the phone. It's like a delay. And, being in person, people talk to them. I know what he's talking about. I think that's the right way. When it comes to budget or whatever, we just all need to be in the same room, so we're not having this round over of people talking, one person talking, another person talking, and it gets kind of, well, it's real frustrating. It's whether it doesn't have to be you, anybody on the phone, it doesn't matter who it is on the phone. It's just that echoing, and it'd be better everybody in the room. So, and we're all sitting here with masks on, and every one of us here, and we've been paid shots, we have shots, and
Yeah, that's a requirement, I'll put it on.
yeah. That's him,
Just
sir.
like any other policy we make. We make the policy,
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, I mean,
It's up to you.
if that's what if that was the requirement to have everybody in the room, I'll do it.
well, it's what the governor said, isn't it?
What's what I
We
heard.
got social distancing going on here.
So,
Yeah. And we're
I'm just saying what the governor said, that's all
I
I want to
understand.
know.
I agree with you, it's just that, we don't really want to make those people mad if we keep from.
And Tim, you're right, it's a big room, we got a lot of room in here.
Yeah, we got a lot of
We'd be 50 feet apart.
But then when I financially carried over, everybody make people do stuff is not right either.
But let's get back to what you
We're
were
off
talking,
topic though, let's get back on topic.
that's what we're talking about here.
So anyway,
Are you done?
So we're gonna talk about Kim being a consultant and then figure out this revenue replacement.
Yeah, I mean, I think what, again, part of the compliance and reporting rules talk about, robust reporting, making sure that everything is documented. Again, a lot of these fees or time spent can be reimbursed or paid through the ARPA funds. So, I mean, I can't show you because I've got, I haven't fully prepared it, but, I'm keeping track of what time I've spent in, being on seminars, emails, preparation of this stuff, reading, preparing and opening up the, accounts. That's all stuff that was ARPA related. Now, whether or not I could be paid or any of us could be paid, I don't know, but I mean, any of these things that, a consultant through either legal services or through financial services are doing directly related to this should be paid out of these funds and not out of the county funds.
I agree.
So, again, I think that we either, you need to identify who you want to use as a consultant, an hourly amount, then, they're gonna need to submit a billing, invoice for that amount. And I'm assuming, I don't see anything, this would maybe be a Drew question, but surely you could make this retroactive to whatever, June 1st, April, whatever, something. Or, technically, I think it's March 31 of 2021 or something like that, whatever that date is, but you can make it retroactive to that. So anything that these individuals have done pertaining to ARPA from that point forward, needs to be logged, it needs to be paid through those funds.
I think that's fair.
So that's why but you gotta pick somebody, you gotta identify a dollar amount, and then, how, and then we can talk about the policy about how we're gonna submit things as far as invoices, or you're gonna pay them on a monthly, quarterly basis, that type of thing, with how it's broken.
Before we go any further, okay, the question was concerning the revenue loss.
Well, but again, that's part of this consulting or services.
Right.
So the revenue, if you want, my recommendation, yes, you need an auditor to do that, because the auditor has it, but you need to identify a dollar amount that you're, a dollar hour, if it takes her 3 hours to do that, you need to know what you're paying.
I get it, but the question was, you don't have that number.
I don't have that number. I'm not, my office isn't.
And that's why I didn't know, Kim, if you had that number,
To calculate things.
or are we still in the process of trying to calculate that number?
The revenue replacement number?
Yeah,
No, I haven't started calculating that number at all. I don't think it's going to be anything too terribly complex. I'd be happy to help you look at it if that would be helpful.
okay, then that leads into,
So do we need to identify a dollar amount for the consultant fee then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
So then we would need some kind of an estimate from Kim.
Or just, pay them by the hour, whatever it
We'll
is.
pay by the hour.
Well,
If you have to have a number up front.
I think you need to identify an hourly wage that you're gonna pay somebody. Yeah, or I guess you can pick a lump sum, but you need to figure out, how do you, if you're doing a retainer, please jump in on this, Drew, because that's your area, but, if you pay someone a retainer, there's still an hourly
There's still an hourly
amount
fee, yes.
that you're calculating to bump up to that retainer.
still like, do we need an engagement letter on that issue?
That's your legal counsel's opinion, if you want to,
Okay.
you need to get that.
I can make this a little easier for you guys. There is an engagement letter there for, outside consulting services, and the different rates per hour were listed there. You could use that as a starting base and see what you think about that. And I'll, keep the time involved as conservative as necessary. And if it gets to be too much over so many hours, or whatever you think about so many hours, then I'll talk to you about that before we go any further.
So to keep your I's dotted and your T's crossed, I think an engagement letter is a good idea. I also think you should probably have that in writing. It sounds like maybe you do, before the board approves any particular consultant. Now, this is a professional service, which means the board does not have to bid this out. However, one thing I would caution you about, and it may not be a conflict, but you want to avoid the appearance of any impropriety. Somebody else correct me if I'm wrong here, but shouldn't your consultant to create these reports and the person who's going to ultimately audit you on your ARPA money, shouldn't those be two different people?
get somebody else audited.
Well, the issue about trying to figure out the revenue replacement, from what I've talked with other counties, is that most of them have had their auditors provide those numbers, because they're the ones that have the information and have actually done like the profit and loss for those particular years.
Okay. I think then we need to make a distinction. There needs to, we need to have, you should not call her a consultant if you're going to use Ms. Meyer, the county auditor, to get this cost replacement number. Because that's one service that, you know, every county is using a county auditor to do. When you label her as a consultant, it sounds like she's going to be doing more than that. So I'd just be careful. I wouldn't label it that way. Or if you're going to do, if you are, I would make sure that your engagement letter is very strict and very narrow on the services that the consultant is going to provide. As we have beat the dead horse in these meetings about how you don't want to do anything inappropriate or look like you're doing anything inappropriate, otherwise this money could be in jeopardy and you could have to pay it back. That's where my concern is coming from. I have full faith and confidence in Kim and her firm. I'm just wanting to make sure that we're doing everything on the straight and narrow here.
So if I heard you right, is consultant, whatever you want to call it, and then this will have to be audited later on. So you have to have, we have to be finding outside to the audit. You can't be auditing what you're consulting. So is that what you said?
Essentially, and I'm not saying that there is a problem or that there is a conflict, but I can see in the future where potentially one would be created. The word consultant is usually a very generalized term for somebody who provides you advice on a broad spectrum of issues. It sounds like on this one particular issue to get this lost revenue number or whatever, using the county auditor may be fine. But I wouldn't lump that into general consulting. I would be very clear and specific on, we're going to use Ms. Meyer for this, or we're going to use her for this, or we're going to use her for this. I don't think I would call it an overall consulting. There was a reason that we didn't include Ms. Meyer as one of the 3 positions, right? Because ultimately she's going to be auditing those reports, and we thought that that would potentially be a conflict. Again, you're wanting to avoid the appearance of any type of impropriety or conflict here.
I get it. Now, Kim, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is this any different than our regular budgeting as far as the budget prep, audit, and consulting?
Well,
The budget.
I think the term, I think the term that's tripping everybody up, and we do use it commonly, okay? We do use it commonly, consulting. Really what we're talking about here are non-attest services. So when you're auditing and there's a report, that's an attest service, and that's where I'm attesting to an opinion. And then if you're going to be assisting entities with non-attest services, which the budget assembly, the assistance with the schedule of your federal awards, the assistance with preparing your end product financial statements. Those are all non-attest services that just clearly have to be written out in specific terms. The limitations of the service will begin, and here's the product, and here's the end. Management still retains the ultimate responsibility for the outcome of these non-attest services. And so to maintain independence, all of that has to be documented and agreed to by management. And then that product, or that help, if you will, that non-attest service can go along with the audit as long as it is spelled out and there's no action as management. So I think maybe if we start listing or referring to these things as non-attest services, I think Andrew's right. Consulting has a different feel to it. The word has a different meaning to different people. So, but as long as the non-attest services are spelled out, they're clear, they're distinct, they're identifiable, and management agrees to them and agrees to take responsibility for them, then there should be no audit impairment. So if you all want to talk about it a little further, you're more than welcome to, and you can let me know what you'd like to do.
I'm not sure where let's go with this.
I think what you're saying is, you're going to talk about is you'll go off the phone or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Or we could just put it
Yeah,
on.
that's the benefit of not having me there in person. I can just hang up.
I knew she was gonna say that.
Okay, all right, I mean, I can put you
You
on
want me to
mute,
hang
but
up? You want me to hang up and then you let me know if you need anything else?
that or I can mute you. Either way, what's your choice? What's your poison?
You might be, somebody else on there might be everybody.
Is there anyone else on the line?
I don't think so.
I don't think there is. Okay, because we're going to mute this line. If you are, speak up. If not, Kim, you can stay on and we'll just mute you. And that way you can do whatever and just, we'll bring you back in.
Okay, I don't care to hang up either.
Okay, well, it's your choice, whatever.
I'll tell you what, you mute. If I still hear you, I'm gonna hang up.
Okay. Bye. Either way.
I'm
not sure it
I'm
just
not sure.
happened, but okay.
The reason why I say that is, Drew, you brought something that's kind of been a hot button, and believe me, it's talked about a lot, okay? The appearance of conflict of interest. And you're a new guy on the block, you probably don't know anything about this. But I think it even says, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley, you know the line item inside now, I think there's a line item that says consulting or something.
It says accounting services, so that's what I was gonna say,
Well-
there's three lines, one says audit, one says budgeting, one says accounting services.
Okay, it's the
So-
same, I thought they consulting,
so-
okay.
I think what you guys usually get, again, I follow where she's saying, and that consulting part may not have been a proper term, but in her review of statutes and like technical accounting issues, in setting up certain things or restricted accounts and all that stuff, goes under that accounting service, like, umbrella. So maybe even, I guess, again, another topic for another time, maybe that needs to be changed in the budget to different terminology as well. But, I mean, if she's saying it's not the non-attest services where she's just providing black and white, here you go. If that meets the requirement, then that may be,
I know.
just fine.
She's on.
Oh, you heard you.
Yeah, I can hear us. Okay. I know we kind of went through this. You weren't here for about the past, it seemed like 60 months when Ron was here. Okay, about this whole issue. Brent went to Kim's office at one time. I went to Kim's office at one time. And both times, on two different times, she explained to us that how in most counties, in most cities, do this, where they'll have the auditor also help with the budget prep. She showed us in the GAO standards, because the Illinois statutes refer to the GAO standards when it comes to auditing. And in a nutshell, she doesn't make the decision. That's the key.
But it's the appearance.
If she makes the decision, now she's not independent. Okay, but according to everything she's doing is in accordance, and I guarantee you, she's not going to risk her license for anything, or jeopardize us in any sort of the way. But I understand the appearance, but it's that appearance has always been there, and it's like that not just with us. I know we're only talking us. So if it falls back to who is making the decision on anything here. If she's making the decision, then it is a conflict. And I would imagine with this, it's different. But if she's not making the decision, people could say, hey, that seems to be a conflict. It's not. But she's not making the decision. The board is making decisions.
Sure. My primary concern is red flags being raised.
Well, they are.
Right? And you want to avoid as
I
many
get
of
it.
those for
I
the
get it.
board's own personal political issues, but also when we're dealing with the Federal Treasury Department.
I get it.
And that's just where my concern is. I have experience dealing with these matters at the municipal level. And most of the municipal governments I've dealt with, they have separate entities that do these. But as long as the, whatever it is, the GFOA or whatever,
The GAO.
GAO, General Accounting Office, whatever, as long as there's some sort of statute or something and it defines it, or there's been some sort of announcement that makes that distinction, that then we can take and.
I've got it in my office.
And we can argue
From
and
whenever
say,
you
no,
talk to us."
here's our distinction. That's fine. At the end of the day, it's a county board decision.
That's it.
That's the issue, but when you bring up, he's on park board, you use.
Well, I mean, my part, we use Kim's office to do our accounts payable as well as our payroll, but we have someone else that do, another firm does the audit.
Yeah.
I guess where I came, okay, I was incorrect, I apologize. It is consulting services. There's audit preparation fees, budget assembly fees, and consulting services, so I guess that's why.
That's what I thought it was, consulting. There's where the red flag comes in.
But again, if we could term it properly, in which there is no red flag, like, raised, and lay out the guidelines, like you mentioned in the engagement letter, then I think you could probably, still accomplish.
And my goal here was not to open a can of worms by any means.
No, I get it.
didn't
Well, you
intend to
knew
do
God
that.
blocked.
I'm just trying to make sure that everything's up and up.
Well, I'm just trying to tell you what happened in the past and how this shaped my opinion on, when she showed me, basically, she explained it, your Bible is the Illinois compiled statutes.
One of them, yeah. Yes.
Her Bible basically is the GAO guidelines. When it comes to the Illinois compiled statutes about consulting services, it talk, and I know I'm not phrasing it correctly. It refers to see what the GAO standards have. So it takes your Bible and makes their Bible your Bible.
Well, my Bible.
That's
totally different all of it.
Kind of in a roundabout way.
So all these Bibles but here's.
We'll be passing the plate here.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'll be taking out. But here's what bothered me. Okay, so Ron was over the extreme. Okay, Ron had some valid points. I see where he's coming from. He wore me out a lot on stuff. But it gets old hearing people, and I do mean not just one, several people saying, well, how's the fourth commissioner doing, or board can't function without her, or this and that. When you start bringing up all these accusations and the appearance, now on the record, I vote for Kim every year because I got faith in her. I have seen some things this past year that I'm not going to say I'm the most impressed with. So I feel to get away from the appearance and the red flags, that I'm going to stand firm on this. I may be the only one, I'll probably be the only one, I'm sure I won't be the only one. But I believe when it comes to budgeting time, that I'm not saying get rid of Kim Meyer. You'll never hear me say she's not one of the smartest people I ever met, because she is. But with that being said, I think she needs to decide which side she likes the best, whether it's the consulting budgeting or the auditing. Pick one, and the other one we send out somebody else. Because we shouldn't have to go around and hold up the book, gather all the rules, all that to show somebody. But just the appearance. And the appearance, it's reality. So, every taxpayer thinks that. They're not going to say, well, I can prove this to you in the book. Who gives a shit about the book? It's the appearance. So she could pick one or the other, and the other one would go out and get somebody else to keep up that balance. And especially if you're not going to come to the damn meeting. I mean, so, no, it's frustrating. You're new. You don't know anybody in this stuff. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of that. Rom's overboard. There's no doubt about it. I did go to Kim's office. She explained her side of it. Okay. So, but that's what I'm going to propose later on. And because I'm just seeing the things I really don't care for. So, but that's what I'm thinking. But anyway, my question on the hourly wages is there an hourly wage, and how much is it going to be? Is there a cap on that hourly wage? what is the cap going to be if you intend to use her, which I knew that in consulting was in there. I just want to make sure. I appreciate you looking at. And so the other, I got a question I asked her today, Ashley, you weren't sure. We talked about, like, I don't know, let's say Ashley God does, I don't know, 20 hours, whatever. Okay, that's going to be paid for out the way I understood, and correct me please if I'm wrong, from ARPA to free up the gen funds from your salary?
Well, possibly. I mean, you know, again, we're kind of going off on a tangent. You're talking about budgeting. Let's focus.
Okay, we'll go one at a time.
I mean, I'll be the first to say, I don't understand some of the language, you know, in here. Kim has been extremely helpful and beneficial in deciphering some of this stuff. You need someone, you know, with Kim's knowledge or area of expertise to be able to understand that. I don't know if there's other people out there. I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily have time to go interview people and bring you a list of names for you all to interview and decide on. I mean, we can narrow the scope of the engagement letter to, you know, this, where, and get your dollar amounts figured out, like an hourly amount. If you want to set a cap, we can keep track of it, and once you hit that, and then go back and revisit something, you know, that's fine too. There's not a bellwether group per se that's, you know, willing to take this on, or the size of the, you know, deal that we have. I mean, maybe here, as we get deeper into it, you might need 2 or 3 people or groups to help administer and oversee and advise and everything else when this is all said and done. But I mean, for right now, I know that we have to figure out potential revenue loss. The only one that has those numbers that would be able to generate that from a profit loss standpoint, you know, is your auditor.
Okay, so
As other counties have.
So I think to make, in this initial time period, to make the smoother transition, or to get things going, I think it'd be a smart thing to utilize her.
Yeah, but again, term it in a different way and narrow the scope.
Narrow the
You know,
scope.
whatever, I don't know the thing, I understand the non-attest and
Yeah, non-attest
type
services.
stuff, but, you know, I don't know if there's in the GLA guidelines, or there's something that's there's a table or an appendix or something that tells you of these type of services, what they consist of, or whatever. May not be a bad idea to like have that included, you know, in there, or like I said, narrow the scope to focus on this, and then, because we know that the next 2 quarters, these things are due, and then start worrying about the rest of it, and you can amend it as you go on. But, you know, I think, again, you're gonna need more people, you're gonna need agreements with others. So that could be a discussion, but it's all a broad general discussion, but, I mean, the main focus is, you know, for the October 31st report, because I don't know if we'll have an application or anything done to figure out if we're, you know, ready to start releasing money, or take projects that you at least identify individual, you know, scope of work and dollar amount, and if you want to cap it not to exceed X. I'm not sure.
I think right now it should just be $1 per hour, $1 per hour.
$26.10.
Huh?
$26.10.
An hourly rate.
That's what I get paid. I'm an attorney.
yeah.
You might twist your arm, take the job.
I can still got the burns.
Actually, so the amount of money or whatever has been paid for, whatever she's done for you now, what's that been paid from?
I don't know. I don't know if she submitted anything to you.
I don't know if
So
you
it's-
submit anything. It could be
That's,
paid.
you know, again, that's why I'm saying, if you have the ability to do retroactively, and I don't know, that becomes another nightmare, is if we've already paid it, can you get reimbursed back, and,
Yeah.
you know, all this other stuff. But, I mean, the faster you do it, the point you pick, and then, you know, moving forward.
To extend the conference for 15
Well,
minutes.
I guess where I'm coming from is all this stuff is, to me, is important because we need to know what the intent of the money. We know what the intent is, to help people. So if we're gonna be spending, $50,000 or $100,000 on Tom, Dick, and Harry helping, we need to know that. I mean, and are we gonna get reimbursed, or do we pay the general fund, or am I crazy, or should that not be something we should know?
Well, I guess the question is, when are you gonna try to authorize the reimbursement? Right? Let's assume she's $150 an hour, right? And you're gonna agree to that, in a few minutes here. And we do a little research, we find out, hey, that money is recoupable, right? The county can get that money back. At what point do we try to get it back? The reason that's important is because if you try to get it back, say, in September, or, then does that money have to go on the October report since it was expended?
Can we not try to get it back with every invoice that comes through?
Well, I imagine they're gonna submit monthly invoices, or at least quarterly
I would think
invoices.
anything that's paid by the end of September 30th will have to go on that October report.
Right now,
Even if you don't, so that means you're gonna have to do some monetary reporting and project reporting and some narrative reporting, even though you haven't authorized the expenditure of any of the funds to any actual project. So just something
Well,
to
I mean,
food for thought.
but you're right. This thing's complicated,
Right now-
I get it.
Right now, we set aside $40,000 for consulting fees, and that's what she draws from.
On the general
On the
fund,
general.
on the
Yeah,
regular,
on the general fund.
on the
So,
regular
right,
budget.
that's how she
Sure.
gets, no, that's for year round. No, that's not for that includes any, no, that doesn't include.
That's
the
a line
budget.
item.
It's a line item.
Yeah, and I
The
don't know what
budget
that-
is totally separate.
Yeah, that's a line item, but we had to put a line item out there, and that's
So
what
she
it's
has
for.
consulting I think it's 40,000.
Where's she at on
Yeah.
that? I mean, amount. Actually, you have no idea what she's at on
I
that?
don't have,
I mean, is there room,
What,
But
about
anyway,
250 hours a year?
So,
well, we know.
so I don't know if right now she's been paid from the general fund or not, but anyways,
We're gonna get credit.
I would think that, just the same hourly rate, whatever, and, what they, we're at. the
Let's have a
mercy.
writing engagement letter.
Huh?
Let's have a writing engagement letter.
you need an engagement letter, you need a scope of work.
We need that, and like
You need a
Bruce
dollar
said,
amount, and if you guys choose to pick, a cap, then put the cap in there. And so you.
Well, the cap could always be modified.
Yeah, you can
I
always.
think you
amend it,
have to.
But I mean,
right, I think we need an engagement letter. I think we
well,
need-
yeah, because that would help whoever comes to audit this stuff, and you'd be like, yeah, here's what we're paying
As much documentation as we can.
person X, here's what we're paying person Y, here's what we're paying, organization A.
And here's
So
what
again,
we're
this is what
doing.
we're gonna have to look at, we're talking about using Great Egypt, cost as administrative, you're gonna need engagement letter with them, with that 2% fee and all that stuff, everything else, that all needs to be documented. That's why I was asking for, one, if she hasn't, turned the tap on doing any of this revenue loss projections or calculations, you need to
We need to do it now.
select whatever you want her to do, an hour amount, and then give her a directive to do it.
And how many hours does she, we need to ask how many hours she got in now, and where's that supposed to be paid from? That's the important question.
Well, but again, that would be part of that,
Okay.
whatever, non-test services.
So then, would the board think that it'd be good, like, okay, we set aside $40,000 for consulting fees for just the year, through the year, on a, we're not talking ARPA, which is just every year, she got $40,000. Now, whether she used it all or not, may not have. But, so why not just use it, put a cap, 40,000, it can be modified at any time, We see that maybe as time goes on while we're doing this, it's a high cap, we can modify it down. If it's not enough, we can modify it up. But if you just want a number, that's a number to start with. Just a thought is all it is, just a thought. Tim? What do you think?
I don't know if 40 is appropriate or not. You're saying that we would use for existing hourly rate up until 40,000?
Yeah, and that's what you would draw from.
And I think I'd like to have some input.
My recommendation would be 20. Bellwether is charging all these other counties 10,000 and then 10,000 on each tranche. So that's 20. I don't think you should be any higher than that personally.
Well,
Well, that's what
we're
we're
going to do, so, that's a good, a way to look at it, one way to look at it.
And if you want, again, that's per tranche, so I mean, you're talking one $10,000 pot now, and then another $10,000 a year later.
They were 10,000 each year.
Are they doing the revenue replacement? Are they doing that?
They're doing revenue, yeah, for some of those, I know, like,
I think that's probably.
Christian
Well, like I said, I just threw that number out.
They're doing that.
I kind of like to hear from Kim what she thinks she'll need for that. She may not. She may not.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're saying $150 an hour, which you threw that out, I don't know if that's what's in that.
40,000.
That's what she's
is a lot of
charged
hours.
us before for
That's
other
that's
services.
265 hours.
That's a lot of hours.
That's a whole lot of time. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well-
that's a pretty broad spectrum, that's what I'm like.
I think the other thing that's crucial
So
is,
if you're saying at 20, then it'd be about half of that, be about what, 100 and some odd hours?
Yeah, 130.
Assuming that's her rate, and that's what she's charged us for other
That's
stuff, it
her
may
rate.
be different, but.
I think it's important probably actually when you think that when you turn in billing, that it should be like itemized like an attorney on something like this technical instead
Well,
of
it
just
needs to
be-
have.
some of these stuff is just-
Well, it's, what it needs, I don't know if it needs to have every email, phone call, but I mean, it needs to have the scope of work.
Yeah, well,
I mean, so I would say that a billing would need to say, revenue, loss calculation, X hours, reporting research, X hours, not just ARPA,
I get it.
10 hours of ARPA, related items that, again, 2 hours was research, 8 hours was preparation, that type of thing. I mean, they need to be broken out, like, for what it is. So then that way, yeah, if you get someone that does a FOIA request and says, I want to see all the stuff, it doesn't say, ARPA.
It's just pretty vague now, that's why I'm getting
So
at it.
that's what I would recommend. It needs to be, fairly, again, not every phone call, not every email or whatever, because that's how an attorney's billing is, and I know from talking to other accountants, that's not industry standard locally, for them to put that in that context of an invoice. But they do, I think, put it down, whatever. This prep, this calculation, this analysis, this research, whatever it may be.
Okay.
And what, there's whatever 6 main areas of concentration of this, I mean, maybe put it in there. So if she's researching stuff about premium pay, it needs to be premium pay research. If there's something that references broadband infrastructure and she's doing research on that, or probably it needs to reference that. Just so it's not just.
So you're looking
It needs to be more than just research. I mean, she would need to put something in there, research related to something financial, right? She's an auditor. I don't know what type of degree she has, but this has to be within her scope.
Right.
I mean, we can't be paying her to do things that are outside of her scope. That would be a misuse, a misappropriation of this money.
That's correct.
Right. I mean, I was generalizing the term.
Sure, no, I totally get it, but I've seen like $1,200 bill for legal research before.
Yeah.
That's a crime, right? We can't do that. That's the unauthorized practice of law. And I'm not sitting here saying like, I'm upset because it's less work for me. No, I'm happy she can do whatever she wants. But I am saying, let's dot the i's, let's cross the t's, let's make sure we're specific and carve out exactly what we're paying her to do. Because the GAO guidelines do say that it is a conflict if she's auditing something that she has an interest in. So I understand there may be an exception that you have to pay for in your office, and we'll take a look at that, that's fine. But I'm just saying, please be careful.
Well, she's not an attorney, and turning in stuff like that is,
But okay, now when you made a statement.
Mhm.
No.
oh, I'm sorry.
About
I
about legal work, a bill for legal work.
It is against the law. It is
No,
a crime to practice law without a license in the state of Illinois. Doing legal research
Right.
is,
But are you referring to something here in the county,
not dealing with ARPA, no.
but within our county?
I'll say no for the time being.
Well, I'll ask it again for the time being, because that's a statement. Because if I'm thinking what you're referring to, she was asked to do that.
Okay, then the person who asked her would be culpable.
And it was for the best interest of the county.
Legal.
And she did not represent us in anything. It was just some research was all.
Again, my intention here was not to open a can of worms. My argument would be, as a representative of the state's attorney's office, it's never in the best interest of a county to break the law.
I got it. I get that. Okay. All right. We followed that tangent. So, all right. Well, let's bring her back on then, unless anybody else got anything different.
Yeah, I still just ask the question of whatever hour she's got in this, where is it coming from, and how much is per hour? That was such a standard, wasn't it? I mean, if it's $150, is that what it'd be?
No, I believe it's 150 an hour.
I mean, just ask her what she's charged so far and what she's done. I mean, how much is it?
Okay.
Well, she may not know what she's got time this. I don't know, I just don't, I mean, I personally don't mind.
And we're specifically talking about work on the revenue replacement. We're not talking about research for.
Well, I mean,
money.
technically you can pay for, when I was referencing, you're allowed to pay.
I mean, how many pages is that? Something like 200?
Yeah, I don't have everything marked and.
Okay.
You can kind of see what's going on.
Get around the restroom.
Well, okay, let's just bring her back on and just see what.
Well, what I was asking was, we're not having her do anything else, anything more than just the work it takes to do revenue replacement.
Right.
Right, to get those numbers.
Right. Well, but I mean, she's been corresponding with with like the reporting and some of the other stuff. I mean,
Okay, so she's assisting her.
I mean,
She's
some of the things that have gone to you guys too, but.
So just like general reporting requirements.
Well, I mean, there are things that, I mean, are related to ARPA or what they, might eligible, she's forwarded some of that stuff. To you, just like Drew sent you the email about that he had received from the city of Marion with their municipal lead information. So, I mean, here it talks about recipients may use funds administering the SLFRF program, including costs of consultants. And that's probably another reason why I said consultant. Consultants to support effective management and oversight, including cost stations for ensuring compliance with legal, regulatory, and other requirements.
To turn off the music, press 1.
Myself,
I mean, there talks in here about direct costs and indirect costs and things like that. But
I still think we need a consultant on this.
Okay. Well, I do too. I mean,
Somebody like Bellwether, and I don't necessarily want to put Kim in a position where she might be compromised.
Well, I mean, I think I got Bellwether.
there's another organization other than Bellwether too. I found out. There's one out of Salem, Illinois.
Really?
Yeah. I forgot the name of them. Sorry. I was made aware of it at one of the meetings that I attended.
You know, I don't know how I envision Kim doing
And I don't think Bellwether is taking any more.
Well, when I asked Ashley, I was thinking, it's a lot, Ashley, if you do, okay? If you could just take that burden off of you and we can land it to somebody else to do it, it would be wonderful.
Well, yeah, I agree.
And we'll save money at the same time.
But I mean, you may need multiple people in different areas. That's one reason why this talks about 3 or 4 different areas.
So we can find out who the person is in Salem, he can follow up, see who that is, you know.
Well, and then.
See who they're using, get a little idea who they're using.
You know, we had talked about Greater Egypt, so I don't know if any of this will fit under them.
No, they won't. I've talked to Gary about it. They won't do it.
You know, every time Ashley comes up somewhere, it's more and more broad and deeper and deeper. And if you've had somebody's got the experience in it,
Well,
hell, just paying 20 grand. Everybody just not worried about it.
and I don't,
Well, I
more
have
importantly, I don't want to
another
get Kim in a position where she's
I
going to
got another
compromise.
person in mind.
Okay, this has got me concerned.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Our former economic development director.
Celeste?
Yeah.
She, yeah, I don't know if she would do that or not. She now works for another group.
Does she?
Yeah,
I thought she was just enjoying the sunshine.
no, she works for another group.
I don't get it, retired and not retired.
I could, well.
But I mean.
I mean, I understand, but I don't understand, you know what I mean?
I look at that. He's looking one back.
Okay, so getting back to this, okay, we put her on, do we make a decision on the, on a cap? Do we ask her, how much, what does she, number one, what has she done?
Yeah, that's your first step. That'd be the first, and he gets all the questions. That's first step, and at that point, what's she done and how much per hour? And where are we at right now?
And let's don't forget, engagement letter, we need to fill this thing full of paperwork.
But I would really love to hear what Jim comes up with on the Salem group, because
I agree.
that could really eliminate Ashley's brain cells from going.
Now, remember,
And
too,
it will also help alleviate a lot of responsibility.
but remember too, if something's not right that they do, they're not responsible. You know, that's the way.
Well, everything has to pass through us.
I'd like to hear the resume, who they're working with, what's going on, and talk to those people.
I'll find out.
Salem, that's not very far. That's,
Right.
where's that other place? Where's Bellwether out of? Ashley?
Honestly, don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't too far from there, I thought. It was somewhere in the middle of the state somewhere.
I was thinking Carolina or something, huh? Really?
Well, you know what, he was traveling in, he was, you know what, maybe he was going to someplace else.
Nice guy.
The only time I talked to him was when he did the cures thing for us.
Yeah. There's a little bit of botched on that, but it wasn't, you know, in the world.
Yeah, I get it, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so, these other entities, whether it be Bellwether, whether it be the other entity or whoever, that still comes back here for us to approve before it's sent. Am I mistaken, or am I correct on that?
Yeah, you're the ones that are controlling the purse strings.
Right.
Right, it has to go through.
So they would send it to us, and then we'd have to go through it, actually go through it, and
I
whatever.
mean, it'd be just like a claim form. So I mean, they're gonna send the invoice, you're gonna oversee it, you're gonna sign off on it, and we just, you know.
But as far as all the reporting, do we see the reporting that they're doing and everything that they're doing?
I don't know.
Do we have any input on it?
I don't know how Bellwether has their stuff set up with any of the other counties.
That'll have to be worked out before we ever.
Yeah, you have to decide if you want, I mean, to be able to review before submission.
I should ask you this straightforward question, just, do you feel comfortable right now that we're gonna be able to hit what we need to hit August 31st?
Yeah, I mean, it's got zero, I mean, they're all zeros.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that's,
Yeah.
We're just showing we're gonna be
It's
doing it.
About 8 hours.
Okay.
I mean, again, I haven't received any kind of, response that, I mean, dictates that has to be turned in or, whatever else that I've asked or discussed, I mean, has any other changes outside of what's been presented to you guys.
The reality of it is, if it has to be done by then, it's not gonna be done.
Right.
Okay.
So,
So let's get her back online. Let's find out what she's got in. We know the dollar amount, we can verify, we'll get it on record, it's $150 an hour, I'm almost positive of it. And, what she's done, how many hours, and where she's been billed out. Kim, are you still there?
She might have disconnected. Been aggravating. Sorry about that. Nothing like this.
You chime in for good.
Make sure your microphone was on.
There's a green light.
I shake my leg a lot. I
Oh, I shake my leg all the time.
heard when they go.
Joe's Pizza.
Hello?
All right. All
Are
right.
you delivering?
Do what?
Nothing, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kim, have you done some billable work on this already? I guess that's one of the questions that we need to ask.
No, not until you all give me some direction or guidance on what you need done. No, I mean, I have read the interim final rule, just for my own knowledge, for applicability and single audits in the future. Read and researched the documents, but that's just for my base knowledge, but I haven't done any revenue replacement calculation.
Okay. Your rate is, if I'm not mistaken, $150 an hour?
For the partner level.
Yeah. Okay. And as far as this, trying to define the scope of work that would classify, how do we go about determining the scope of work? How do we, and actually chime in on this if you would.
Well, I'll give you my recommendation is just to simply assist the county in the revenue replacement calculation in response to the ARPA Act, period.
Okay.
If you don't like that, just give me some feedback on what you're thinking.
I mean, is that, I think that's good enough. Could you say that one more time, Kim, please?
Okay, I'll try. To assist the county in its calculation of the revenue replacement calculation in response to the ARPA Act.
All right.
That's my understanding of what you're needing help with.
Correct.
If you like some other description, feel free.
Does it need to be any more?
I mean, I don't think, I mean, I'm looking at that, I mean, I did forward this part to Kim, because she's gonna, I assumed she was gonna be helping me do this, but, I mean, your input line items for the revenue replacement, base year revenue, fiscal year end date, growth adjustment views, actual general revenue for 12 months for December 31st, 2020, estimated revenue loss during the COVID emergency. I mean, obviously, this isn't going to be a no. Where fiscal recovery funds used to make a deposit in the pension fund, that's a no because it's prohibited. And then the last part is this is where you would make your decisions and provide an explanation of how revenue replacement funds were allocated to government services. So that would be where you guys would pick. Now, I don't know if you're going to want input from Kim on that, and where that money's could go towards filling in whatever holes were there, or what would be identified as areas that were cut, or how that money's going to help replace lost revenue or lost budget monies from the prior year. Which I got a pretty good idea. I mean, literally, you can identify every outside employee that was paid through all these automation and restricted funds. That's all revenue replacement right there.
Can you hear him okay, Kim?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
And all those people were paid through those automation funds due to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, you guys didn't have any money, you cut the budget down to.
Well, I wasn't here.
Well,
So I'm just,
I'm generally stating the commissioners, how's that? We're forced to cut the budget down and then in turn force the treasurer's office, the circuit clerk, the county clerk, and the assessor's office to pay through their restricted funds to be able to keep those employees employed by the county with the, only other alternative of being relieved of their duties because of lack of funds. So, I mean, that seems
I
to
just
be,
had to ask the
I mean, again, that can be discussed and talked about. That would be part of that revenue replacement consulting portion.
Okay. Kim, another thing that we talked about was the itemization on the invoicing, how it's broken out and listed on the invoice that you would submit. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, well, I
Okay.
mean, if you're identifying that in the engagement letter that it's the revenue replacement for ARPA, then that needs to make sure that that's reflected on the invoice to correspond. I mean, obviously for her, I mean, on an audit trail too, you want to make sure that it's,
Right.
that it fits within this administrative cost to a guideline of a reporting guide.
Okay. So is there any problem that you foresee on something like that? Just making it known on the invoice, what, itemizing every billable hour?
No, that's not a problem. In fact, what I can do is prepare a completely separate invoice just for that function. And understand that function may just be assisting the entity in getting confidence in building the revenue replacement numbers. You still may be able to do it yourself, just with a little assistance and a little direction on interpreting the official guidance. So that's what I'm saying, is this may not be invasive at all. Sometimes it's just trying to understand the terminology.
Of course, now, as far as setting money aside, I mean, that's going to be a board decision. Do you have, this is probably going to be a tough question. Do you have a best guess how many hours you project you'll be spending on this in what, I guess, a year or what? For this year, I imagine. Or how would you want to, how to phrase something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be over a 12-month period.
For a 12-month period,
Or
some ballpark.
Again, if you're wanting to mirror the payment structures, like what Bellwether's doing with those other counties, then you would say from, until the next tranche, which would be over the next, now you're talking 11 months. That's what you would be identifying.
So Kim,
Yeah.
can you give us a projection on that? Like that,
Well,
or do you need to?
here's what I think I would recommend you do.
Okay.
And recommend that I do. If you want some help, why don't we look at a 4-hour block, okay? No more than 4 hours right now, to at least get the process down for what needs to happen, where the numbers need to come from. You would have those numbers already in your system. It might be just simply helping you pull up the right report to get there. So that would be my suggestion, is if we get into it in the 4 hours in, we're going to tell right then about how much time it's going to take in its entirety. Okay, so I think within that window, we'll either be done quickly because of the reporting capabilities that we have, or we're going to know this is going to take us another 2 days or so, to get the numbers in there correctly. I think we go at it like that, is just look at it like that, 4-hour block, and then let you guys know or update you on, hey, that looks good, or we're going to need quite a bit more time.
Yeah. Okay.
It may not be as complex, it's just that it's new. That's the scary thing, is it's new.
Right.
So Ashley, I keep going back in circles, but this is complex. There's no doubt about it, okay? And we talked about, paying out of ARPA was one of the comments. Okay, so we're not releasing any funds to any projects, we're not doing anything. So I need to get, as Wendell, you say, get in my brain that how are we going to pay anybody out of ARPA? We have to front it first and then hopefully get reimbursed, or?
No, I mean, you would submit whoever the parties would submit their invoice for their services. And then you would then in turn, I guess probably in those like weekly meetings, you would approve those invoices and then fill out a claim in which I would go and request a wire from the main ARPA account into the ARPA clearing fund, and then those claims would be paid through that.
Okay.
So it would be no different, there's not gonna be anything that we'd be fronting money, unless someone were to buy something and then ask for a reimbursement.
Yeah.
That was eligible through those costs.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's the same process as what we do now.
Like a claim.
But again, I think whenever we talked about this, these all need to be, there needs to be approval of claims like in the meeting, so that you can approve those. So there is documentation. It's not just that you sign them in your office.
No, I understand.
So that's how it would work. So it'd be no different than, Kim does this work, say it's 4 hours, $150 dollars an hour, $600. She submits the invoice, the meeting happens, you approve said claim, then you sign it, you give it to us, and I get the money, start moving and set out the payment just like anything else. That's the way it's set up. Okay. It's just that, again, you're just not doing it in the confines of your office and just having, you literally need to have it on the record.
On a vote. Okay. So in the meantime, this company, Kim had mentioned, you're gonna check with them and see what we come up with there.
I'll find out who they are, and I'll find out the information on it. I'll bring it back to the board. So hopefully, if whether we need to meet Wednesday or not, I'll try to have it by Wednesday.
Okay.
Again, that's you guys' call.
Yeah.
I'm doing the reporting, so I'm doing it differently.
But you're gonna do the reporting tomorrow.
I'm only doing, again, I guess you've all been presented that report. You're going to need to approve it because
Right.
Talking about that, because it's on the agenda.
Right.
But, yeah, you also need to, I guess, make a motion to approve Kim's amount and then the scope of the work that you're going to do.
We're gonna do that before we talk to the other firm?
That needs to be,
You need to do that right now, don't you?
well, I would prefer to have it done sooner rather than later.
Right.
Who knows what you're going to talk to these people and everything else and whatever. So if you only use her for this and that's it, then
And that's it.
so be it. But this needs to be done, and honestly needs to be done. The date is by September. October 31st is, date through September 30th.
Right.
So she figures that out. We get that amount, you know what it is, you identify replacement numbers and all that stuff, and then we would be able to put that in the report. And then in turn, figure out where the money would go. We'll probably have to get some kind of recommendation. From her, they need to have a separate trust account put in and then do something later. So there's maybe something built.
Yeah.
So, first thing, let's just go ahead and take the first thing, the ARPA report. Okay, we just need to approve the ARPA report, correct? But that's what we have on the
Yes.
agenda. So,
I've given you,
Okay.
it was in that email that I sent out.
Right.
And I've got the hard copies right here. But in essence, I will be submitting this recipient profile, the expenditure summary, which are all zeros, revenue replacement, which has nothing in there at this time either. And then the certify and submit, that basically nothing is verified.
what about the letters that we came up with?
That doesn't apply because we don't have to provide the performance report.
That's what I was gonna ask.
That's the
So we'd like to
whole,
do a performance reported on.
I don't see that we did. You know, again, that's what I sent to you, and I mean,
I got
that
another
takes a
reply
major-
today.
Not yet.
Had another
Yeah.
person send me a reply
2
today.
days.
Well, I mean, that's, again, whenever you guys decide to do your applications, these are things that you're gonna need to be able to
Okay.
provide and have. So you will need it. It's good practice to do
Right.
it. So.
So that part, okay, so the part we talked about, where you were going to put in, that we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Where
the
you don't
narrative-
feel like
the
that needs to be
narrative
done.
Does not appear to be a
Okay.
requirement, because again, as I mentioned in that table, it only applies to 250 and above, 250,000 and above. We are not even remotely close to that numbers account.
To extend the conference for 15.
Okay, so you need a motion now to accept what's the report, correct?
The upper report.
All right, so based on, we've all seen the report from,
The interim, August 31st.
Yeah, Indiana.
okay, so we've all seen the report from Treasurer Ashley got from interim, August 31st. I make a motion to accept the state and local fiscal recovery funds as LFRF reports.
So,
Chair Marlowe,
Yay.
Brent Gentry,
Yay.
Tim Atkinson.
So then, as far as the amount that we want to set aside, one of the recommendations, of course, was pretty much like what we said with Bellwether, what they would charge. So it's just a guideline. It's just anything that can be changed at any time. It could be adjusted up, it could be adjusted down. So do we want to, the number was $20,000. Do we want to do that? Is that what we want to set for the consulting fee? And this is for the consulting fees,
I mean, yeah,
basically?
20,000 is a big number.
well, you can make it, like I said, it's tranche 10 and 10, so you make it 10. I mean, that can-
Okay, yeah, so,
That can cover, I
okay.
mean, and the way that reads.
Well, that's what I was.
That covers legal and everything else. I mean, it's
So
all part of that.
if
So
it would
just be,
10,
well, I mean, since, might as well do 10 now, say,
yeah,
until the next.
Just say 10.
Next problem.
10. Okay, that's fine. That, when I said 20, that's what I really meant. That's
20's a
what I
big
meant.
number.
Okay, no, that's fine. So like I said, it can be changed at any time. So, do we need to vote on that, or we just, is that, I mean, it's not on the agenda to vote on. We just do a head shake, or,
No expenditure, I don't know.
I mean, what do you think?
We spend money.
Well, I think that the request for the motion is not on the agenda.
Right, okay.
And if you need to spend the money between now and the next meeting, that it could be on the agenda, you're covered because you do have in your yearly budget the consulting money. So I think you're good. When you get done with that, there's one thing about the report that we need
I
to
think we
say.
probably ought to have her letter of engagement at the same time, don't you?
I would think it would be best practice to have that
Let's have
before you
it so that
vote,
we can
yes.
attach everything together.
Are you
Sound
talking
right to everybody?
about the engagement letter just for the 4 hours until we figure out what?
This
the
is
company-
Right, for whatever she's gonna do for the revenue replacement.
Kim, is that good with you? Or did you mention something else that was, that would have been covered? Or do we need to have the separate engagement on this?
Well, I think, and I'm just gonna reiterate what I've heard, is that you would like a specific engagement letter that discusses assistance with the revenue replacement calculation. And my thought was, let's look at it in a 4-hour block to see what's required, understand what your system can do, and see what the confidence level is in handling it on your own, or is this really an area that you need some help in long-term? If you want an engagement letter for that, I can prep one and send it over. If you would prefer to talk to this other firm you're talking about, the Bellwether, to see if they'll do the same thing for you, you're more than welcome to wait and see if they'll do that for you too. And then you can just let me know if, after talking with them, if you'd like an engagement letter. So I'm happy to wait.
Quite honestly, I'd like this work to get done so that we're not at the last second trying to get it finished.
So
in my opinion, I'd like to just get it done. Let's just take care of it. We're here right now. Let's just take care of it if we can. Have her do the engagement. We have a meeting on Wednesday.
No, didn't say you can't.
We have a meeting on Wednesday. She does the
You said it for
engagement.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so
But it's-
was she mentioned going to talking to the other firm? Right now, I would
You
like.
got time right now.
but it's too late to put it on the agenda for Wednesday.
Both of this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is it?
You know, I can send the engagement letter over, let you all take a look at it, and decide if it's something you'd like to put on an agenda at some point in the future. How's that?
We, or both, I mean, we could do it,
But you know, things kind of
Thursday,
get
or,
looked over sometimes. And
you know.
wind up.
we could do it Thursday, or,
I'm
Yeah, well, why don't you take a look at
I
it,
won't be back.
okay,
see what you're thinking, then this is all just information gathering for you right now.
okay,
It's hard
Okay,
to
a
make
letter
it.
being sent does not mean it's required to
Just like
sign.
this,
It's
that's it.
got it, yep.
I'm still on the board.
not while you're gathering and figuring out
He's
how
like the
to.
blackjack dealer.
Okay,
Okay, all right. So then, we'll put it on as soon as we can, when everybody, or
Okay.
the board can meet to vote, so,
And I think it's our intention.
yeah, I'll just send it over to Stephanie.
okay.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty good out there.
We can still do it, actually, we can still do it for, no, we can't do it Wednesday, unless it was like a 3:30 meeting. We can do a 3:30 meeting on Wednesday.
We could adjourn to, because we have.
Now, Ashley, while they're talking, do you like the approach of, hey, let's spend about 4 hours on how we can make this work and decide what it's gonna take from there? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
15.
Okay.
if we have the capability of pulling whatever reports you need, that's fine.
Yeah.
If not, then again, I think we could probably, have Mark maybe look into trying to
This next week.
put something together. And
After the
I
weekend.
would assume that those would be,
Is that okay, Brent?
costs that could be applied or
Then maybe we can match it on the other.
used for ARPA funding too, since
Like
it's,
here with this.
I mean, specifically generated reports to meet those requirements.
Yeah, yeah, I think
I
we
agree.
should try to get our arms around it and see what you have at your fingertips.
In Ashley's time, and he's already,
And you may be in a lot better
I'm
position
gonna put him in.
than what you're feeling like, you know?
So we get it done? Okay, September 8th. I think that meeting,
Okay. Send over an engagement letter. We'll put it on the agenda for our September 8th meeting. Give us time to look at it. Anybody got any questions or anything like that? You know, we'll have it ready to go. We got a meeting lined up. It'll be Wednesday, September 8th at 1:15, and we can take care of it then.
perfect.
Okay. Is there anything else for Kim?
I don't have anything else for Kim.
Okay, so I got one question for
I'm sorry, what time is it? 10 o'clock?
1:15.
1:15. It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday meeting.
Same time every time.
1:15. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Kim, that's all we got for you.
Okay?
You can go if you want, or if you enjoy listening to us, you can stay on the line.
Well, I hung up before because I thought y'all had just, closed that meeting and left and forgot. I just keep being left behind and forgotten now.
Just like IT, you know, we'll be right back, please hold. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. All right, see you, bye. Okay.
In law enforcement, they call that a flu, so I took my flu and left, so.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Got a question.
To turn off the music, press 1.
On the application, where are we at with the application?
My understanding is that somebody was going to try to get one from Franklin County.
Right.
I guess Brett has one. So,
Okay.
You got 3 to work off of now?
yeah, I have the other 3. It was mentioned a
Okay.
couple times, so I figured we wanted to try to incorporate that one too. So that's,
Our line right now.
yeah, so that's where I'm at on that. But we can have an application. We can have it at a Wednesday meeting if you prefer, or I can get a draft for the regular September meeting. You know, whatever the board's preference is on that. And then it's off topic, but I guess as an update or a reminder, I met with Brandon this morning. The three of us are still working on the housing policy, and we'll have a draft ready for you by that regular September meeting. Or not, I keep calling it housing policy. I do apologize. It's the hiring policy, HIR, not HOU.
What are we doing with the housing?
Yeah, well, I'll get there eventually. It's been one of those days.
No problem. All right, appreciate that, thank you. All right, everybody got anything else?
He's got one more.
I got one more.
Yes.
Just for clarification and for the record, I don't think this is a problem, but just to make sure it's on the record. When the motion was made, seconded, and passed, it was made to accept, for the board to accept the report. I think that your intention is also that the board is now directing the treasurer to submit the report. I don't think you need to revote or have a separate motion, just
Even on the.
as long as we have on the record that
Yes.
that was your
That was
intention.
our
That's
intention.
it.
Intention would be
Okay.
Brenda.
Perfect.
That's exactly what I meant to say, was accept.
So we're learning as we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I stuttered and I forgot that
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
Maybe for future, the tab says certify and submit.
Certify and submit.
That's the other words that I meant to say.
Trust but verify.
So we might want to put that actually on this.
Do it.
Yeah.
Certify.
Yeah.
Certify and submit.
Certify and submit, right.
Yeah, we're all learning.
And if it makes you feel better, I'm calling hiring housing, so that's where my mind is at.
Well, there's the age, you got that part right.
Okay. All right, nothing else? Let's see, motion to adjourn.
The motion to adjourn.
And I'll.
Jim Marlowe,
Yeah.
Brent Gentry, Tim Atkinson.
Started with an H or all behind.
And it ended in an ING. I had not 80% of the letters right. It just unfortunately